Hello everyone and welcome back to The Man's Kitchen. It's me, your host, James the Man's Man. And today we're going to make up another wonderful cold day wintry meal. And we're going to get right to that after this. And we are back from the intro. Now, if you like my channel, please hit the subscribe button. And if you like today's video, hit the like button. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, I would appreciate that too. Now, one more thing I want to mention. Today is Sunday, and I have now just hit 294 subscribers. And Friday will be my 2-year anniversary. And from year 0 to 1, I put 100 subscribers on. And from year 1 to 2, I would love to put 200 subscribers on, doubling my first year, letting me hit at least 300 by Friday. So if you're watching this and you haven't hit the subscribe button, please. And when I hit 300 subscribers, I will do another viewer request. So if there's anything that you want to see me make, write it down in the comments below, and I'll do a viewer request video. Now that little bit of housekeeping is out of the way, let's move on to the ingredient list for today's beef stew. Alright, I have my ingredients already prepped up for me, and if you're not sure how to do any of the ingredient prep, you can always go to my culinary skills playlist, where I have a complete selection of videos showing you how to cut vegetables and prep basic items. Now, with that out of the way, I have some onions, some celery, and some carrots. Now, onions, celery, and carrots together make the basis of a French mirepoix. In a traditional mirepoix, you should have 1 part onion, half part carrot, half part celery, or say 500 gram onion, 250 gram celery, 250 gram carrot. That's not what I have today. What I have is roughly all around 320-ish grams each. What I did was, the reason for that is that some of you may or may not know, camera wife Heather is 5 months pregnant, and onions really gross her out right now. So I have half as many onions as I should have, and I also cut them up finer than I need to for a stew, so that way they kind of disappear more into the sauce. Everything else, I left a little more chunky. I also have a small container of mushrooms. This is the mushrooms I have left over from the chicken tetrazzini video 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago from showing you, not these haven't been in the fridge for 2 weeks. I've also got some potatoes sitting in water so they don't oxidize. If you're going to cut and peel your potatoes ahead of time, it's important to keep them submerged under water. You want to keep the air off of them or they'll turn black and they could kill you. I've got some canned peas. I've got some stewing beef. I want to talk to you a little bit about stewing beef. This is AAA Angus. This is 647 grams, or 0.647 kg. This was 10 bucks at the grocery store. Overpriced, kinda. You don't need AAA Angus for stew. It's got a little check mark here that it's tender and a little check mark that it's juicy. The whole point behind stewing stuff is to take on tender cuts and find uses for them. So this is kind of a waste of good meat, but it's what they're selling at the grocery store now is stewing beef. So have that for whatever you will. I've also got a half a cup of flour and a half a cup of butter. Plus a bottle of red wine. And I'll show you what to do with all of these ingredients right after this. Alright, first thing we're going to do, we're going to take our half a cup of butter We're going to put it into our preheated pan. Turn the heat down a bit. We're going to add a little bit of oil because that'll help stop the butter from burning. And what we're going to do in this bowl is we're going to put our stewing beef in here. Okay, see I got a bowl here. We're going to put our half cup of flour in here. We're going to toss this up. Use a spoon. And then give this a good mix. Okay, you can put your hands in here if you want. Get it all mixed up and just wash your hands when you're done. Okay, what we're going to do with this now is we are going to add this into our pot. Get all the flour in there. I'm going to give this a quick stir, and then we're going to move the camera over so you can see what's happening in the pot. I'm going to turn the heat up a bit now from a low simmer because the pot was a little hotter than I thought. So when I dropped the butter in there, it started melting almost instantly and browning around the edges of the melt. So I'm going to turn it up to a medium now that I'm here. I'm going to bring the camera over and show you what's going on. Alright, so what I have going on here is I'm browning my beef. So I'm on a medium-high heat right now. And I'm working in my butter and my flour. And what that's doing is it's making a roux. And that's going to thicken the sauce for the stew. So for a white roux, we cook the butter and flour for about 2.5 minutes. For a blonde roux, we cook it for about 3.5 minutes, and for a brown roux, we cook it for 5 minutes. And you use your roux color based off of the color of your sauce. So a white roux for a cream sauce, a blonde roux for, you could say like a chicken stalks, and a brown roux for beef stalks. Okay, we want to get the beef browning in here. That's kind of our main priority. So I'm going to keep on stirring this and browning this off for the next 5 minutes, and I'll get back to you right after I'm done. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes of cooking, and I've got a nice roux developed here. I've got my beef has been browned. I just turned the heat off, and I'm going to take my beef, I'm going to put it into a bowl, and you can see in my pot I have all kinds of bits of roux stuck to the bottom. I'm going to turn our heat back on. High heat, we're going to do this quick. We're going to take our wine. We're going to cover the bottom with maybe 1/8 of an inch, and we're going to deglaze it. And what that means is we're going to use our wooden spoon, and we're going to rub around in here and work everything free that was on the bottom of this pot. If you do this right, it should look like it's clean now. Okay, we don't want to strain these bits out. These bits are what we want. That's what's going to make our sauce thick. Yeah, there we go. Okay, just get that all worked up. Perfect. Okay, we're going to put this into our bowl there. Okay, got a little bit more, some big chunks. It's okay if you don't make it perfect. And the reason that I'm using a stainless bowl and not a non-stick bowl or pot is because you don't get the right kind of, like there's bits of meat that stick to there when you do this, and it doesn't work right if you use non-stick. Now we're going to put some oil in here. In my ingredient list earlier, I don't normally include oil, salt, or pepper. And the pot's hot, so we're going to drop our onions in right away. Well, the pot seemed hot when I poured out the wine. Okay, we're going to put this on a medium heat. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to try and brown these onions, caramelize them a bit. So this is my pot of onions now, and I'm going to cook this up on a medium-high heat for a few minutes just to get my onions all browned. And then we'll add in the rest of the vegetables, and I'll show you that step when I get there. Okay, I've been cooking these up for a few minutes now, and they're just before they start to brown. And if I take them to the spot where they get caramelized, I'll burn them while I'm cooking up the rest of my vegetables. So I'm adding my carrots and my celery at this point. Now you might be thinking, okay, the carrots and celery are twice as big. Shouldn't I have started with those first? And the answer is maybe. I want to caramelize the onions here. So I want to develop a nice dark brown rich flavor on them. So no, I wanted the onions to get a head start, even though they are smaller. If they were larger onions, they would have gotten an even bigger head start. The celery, that's not really going to benefit anything from extra cooking. It's not going to get any richer in flavor. The carrots, on the other hand, yeah, the carrots should get a chance to caramelize a little bit and brown, but the onions need a head start over carrots either way. So getting the carrots or the onions a head start to about the state where I just showed you is going to work out just fine for this. I'm going to turn my heat right now. I'm at medium. I'm in between medium and high. We're going to go up to high, and I'm going to keep stirring this up. The only other ingredient I'm going to add before we put everything back together is going to be the mushrooms. But if I put the mushrooms in now, I'm going to burn the mushrooms. So we're going to finish caramelizing the onions, and you can see this is what my mix in my pot looks like right now. We're going to caramelize the onions and soften the rest of the vegetables in this mirepoix. And I'll get back to you when we add in the mushrooms. Okay, the onions are just at that tipping point before they go brown. And I've got some heat through everything. There's some steam coming out of the pot. I'm going to add my mushrooms in. And that's going to be, for me, my signal. When those mushrooms are fully cooked, then I know I'm done here. Now, you could, if you wanted to do this in a slow cooker, after you brown your beef, you could put that in your slow cooker with your liquid. You could do this in a frying pan. You could do everything in a frying pan and just keep adding ingredients to the slow cooker as you fry them off, and then set a timer and walk away from it. That'd be okay. I've elected to use a pot because I have a natural gas stove, and gas is half the price of electricity where I live. But my wife loves to use the slow cooker. You also don't have to, you might be saying, James, why are you wasting your time frying everything up when you're going to be boiling it for a couple hours anyways? Isn't it going to be cooked from that? Well, it will, but it'll never develop that rich flavor. The more attention you give food, the better it's going to taste. So by actively working the ingredients like this, by getting a crust on the beef and developing a nice rich roux, by caramelizing the onions and bringing out their deep rich flavor, then yeah, we're going to make this stew taste a lot better. Is it going to take longer? Is it going to be a little more work? Yes. Is it going to be worth it? Yes. All right. Our mushrooms are almost cooked. Okay, the carrots still feel hard, and that's fine because they're going to be simmered up or yeah, basically boiled, simmered for 2 hours. The onions are just about caramelized. And if you have anything stuck to the bottom, as long as it's brown or lighter, then you can just pour some more wine in here and deglaze it and just leave it in here. That's fine. Okay? You can add fresh wine. And this is what the inside of my pot looks like now. Okay, I'm not sure how well this comes through on the camera with all the steam. So I'm going to add back in my beef and wine and roux. I'm going to need a spatula to get all of this. Okay, you want to get every last bit of flavor out of here. Okay, we're going to mix this up. And I roughly have, if you followed my proportions there with my vegetables, I roughly have twice as many vegetables as I have meat. Okay, now to get the best tasting product out of this, you should be putting a nice, rich beef stock in here. And if you don't know how to make stock, I have a video all about making stock. But I'm not going to lie to you. I pulled a bonehead move again this week, and I don't have any beef stock. I don't even have beef base powder or bouillon cubes that I can cheat with. So I'm going to put some water in here. This was 4 cups. That's not quite enough. And the reason I'm measuring this out is so I can write down in the comments, in the description below, how much water I used. So normally I would just fill it up to what I think looks right, but I want to be able to tell you what that is. Yeah, we'll go with the whole 8 cups. We're going to add our potatoes next. So let's get rid of the water the potatoes have been sitting in. Strain that out. I have my potatoes. Those are going to go in. Yeah, that looks all right. We're going to stir this up. Now here's where I am going to cheat just a little bit. I said I didn't have any beef base, and I don't, but I do have a little bit of chicken soup base. And that's better than nothing. So we'll just put a little bit of our liquid in here just to mix the base up. Grab some out of the cupboard. And oh, I don't know, I'll probably use maybe like a 1/4 cup worth. Just gonna grab a fork to whisk this in quickly. So if I didn't use this at all, we could call this a beef broth. A broth is anytime you use meat to flavor your liquid. A stock is when you use bones to flavor your liquid. And actually, one of the tricks, one of the secrets at the restaurant to get a really rich beef stock is to use chicken stock for the water first. So you make a full chicken stock, get it nice, rich, and flavorful, and then use that as your water to make a beef stock. And that'll be even more rich and flavorful than just using water to make your beef stock. Now we have to bring this to a full boil. So I'm setting this up to power boil. This now has to come to a full boil for the roux to fully incorporate and mix throughout. If you don't get that full boil, you really will never cook out all the flour. Once we get that full boil, we can set it down to a simmer. We're going to put a lid on it, and we're going to walk away for 2 hours. And that's all there is to it. So I'm going to get back to you in 2 hours. Alright everybody, it's been about 2 hours and I have developed a beautifully rich sauce. Now I told you we still had peas. The peas are going in right now. And I would prefer to have gotten fresh peas, or frozen peas, but the grocery store was out. Frozen peas would have a much nicer color, and you'd want to add them at this stage so they don't turn grayish like canned peas do. With canned peas, I guess you could have put them in earlier. It would have been fine. Now, the other thing, you haven't seen me add any seasoning to it yet, or any herbs. So I'm going to add a little bit of oregano now. Just going to lightly dust the top. Some salt and pepper. And the reason why I didn't want to do that earlier, why I save it for near the end, and there I have what looks like a ridiculous amount of kosher salt, which isn't for the amount of liquid that's actually here. The reason why I wait till near the end is because if you are concentrating your flavors, you're also going to concentrate your herbs and spices. And what might taste fine at the beginning ends up being ridiculously over-seasoned near the end. So I'm going to give that a good stir. I'll give this another taste. I tasted it off camera once. That's kind of how I knew how much to add. I'm tempted to put in just a bit more salt, but I'm going to let this go another 15 minutes. And then I'll check it one more time. I'll get back to you then. Okay, it's been about another 15-20 minutes. We're going to give this a stir to make sure we don't need to adjust our final seasoning. That is, you know what? We're going to talk about that. You know what this is? This is something we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about this next. All right, so now I've got it in a bread bowl. That's right. I got a loaf of bread here. Scooped it all out. I got my stew stuffed in here. You could have put this on a bed of noodles, or you could have put it on a nice bed of mashed potatoes. There's plenty of liquid to stuff. Everything is hot and tender, all the vegetables. The carrots have a nice sweetness to them. The important part, though, is how tender is this beef. Is this hunk going to fall apart in my mouth? The answer is yes. Now, if you want smaller pieces of meat, then go ahead and cut them up when you open up your stewing beef. If you like them big, like I do, like I like it to be the only thing on my spoon when I grab that piece of meat, and that's what you're going to do. Oh yeah, we're going to collapse a little bit of the side. And you know what? I can't eat this anymore on camera because it'll be 10 minutes of me just finishing this. So, just recap. We tossed our beef in flour. We seared it up in the pot with the butter to make a roux. And then we deglazed with red wine. We reserved that on the side while we caramelized our onions and then sauteed our carrots and celery to finish our mirepoix. We added a mushroom to that, or a few mushrooms. We put in 8 liters of liquid, which I cheated a bit with some chicken soup base. Then we added our potatoes, and we let that come to a full boil and simmer for 2 hours. Then we checked it for seasoning and herbs. I added oregano, salt, and pepper. We let that simmer for another 15 minutes to confirm it was the right amount of seasoning. Oh yeah, and we added the peas in at that point too. And again, preferably frozen over canned, but you get what they have at the store. So if you like this video, hit the like button. If you like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Feel free to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And down in the comment section below, you're going to write down what you want me to make in an upcoming video. When I pass 300 subscribers, I will put out another viewer request. Thanks, and have yourself a great day.